You didn't get a vote. 6 in 10 retirements happen on a date the retiree never chose, and if you're between 35 and 60 right now, the odds say yours is one of them.
Here's the number that should stop you mid-scroll. The average American doesn't retire at 65. They retire at 62.
And for most of them, nobody asked.
Stick around, because in about 90 seconds I'm going to show you the exact year a government deadline and a demographic wave are set to collide, and there's a decent chance it's the same year.
You turned 67. Why does this keep happening to people who did everything right?
That's the question that sent me down a research hole for the last few weeks. SSA trustees' filings, Embry Confidence surveys, Fidelity's retirement healthcare estimates, the actual
Insurance marketplace pricing tables for 2026, and what I found wasn't one problem, it was 3 running on separate clocks, all converging on the same stretch of years. The standard playbook max the 401k, wait for 67, lean on the 4% rule isn't wrong.
It's just missing a chapter. The one where you don't get to choose your exit date, because statistically, most people don't.
Here's why a solid plan still fails so often. Retirement math feels clean. Balance, contribution rate, expected growth, target date, plug it in, get a number, feel good.
But that number is actually a bet that 5 unrelated systems, your body, your employer, the market, Congress, and the insurance industry, all stay cooperative for the next 15 plus years.
History is not kind to that bet. Picture your retirement plan as a cockpit gauge. It tells you you've got fuel to reach 67.
What it doesn't tell you is that the gauge itself runs 3 to 5 years optimistic, confirmed across multiple large surveys, and that somewhere past your current sightline sits a stretch of terrain nobody printed on your map. A gap in employer coverage, a wait for Medicare, and a Social Security clock with an actual dated expiration.
That gauge isn't lying to you. It's just reading a future you don't control. Let me show you what that terrain actually looks like through someone real.
Call him Tom, 50, for about $2, 160, 0. 0 saved, 11 years of runway to a target of 65. His plan checked every box. His advisor signed off. His spreadsheet balanced. His wife was on board. At 57, Tom herniated a disc moving a bookshelf. Nothing dramatic. A few months of physical therapy out of the field portion of his job.
Well, he was sidelined, his company restructured. He came back to a new title, a flatter role, 12% less pay.
He recalculated. 11 years became 14.
Then, 13 months later, a second layoff round caught him at 59, with roughly a year of expenses and liquid savings in his 401k, still 3 years from penalty, free withdrawals.
What actually broke? Was it the math? No. Tom's arithmetic was fine start to finish.
What broke was the assumption baked silently into every retirement calculator that nothing interrupts you before your chosen date.
Something interrupted Tom at 59, and the distance between 59 and 65 turned out to be the most expensive stretch of his entire plan.
So if it's not undersaving, what's the actual problem? It's this: most plans are built for a finish line that most people never reach on schedule.
You can save exactly the right
amount for a 67 retirement and still land short, because your real start date showed up at 61, uninvited, and your model never accounted for that version of the future.
The research backs this up hard. Multiple long, running surveys put the expected retirement age around 65, and the actual median closer to 62, a 3-year gap that hasn't moved in decades.
Most people who exit early didn't choose it. Health issues and job disruption outrank "I was financially ready" by a wide margin.
And the backup plan, "I'll just work" part, time to bridge the gap, collapses for most people the moment health or the labor market says otherwise.
Now hold that thought, because next I want to introduce someone whose story we'll come back to, and then walk through the 3-part cost collision that hits the moment people actually do exit.
Call her Renee, 51, disciplined, organized, the kind of person who actually reads her 401k statements.
About $310,000 saved, a clear glide path to roughly $750,000 by 65. On paper, she's ahead of most people her age.
Keep her numbers in mind. We're going to stress test them. Here's the collision in 3 parts. Part 1, the coverage gap.
The stretch between an early exit and Medicare eligibility at 65 used to be softened by enhanced ACA subsidies.
Those enhanced credits lapsed at the end of 2025 and weren't renewed for 2026, which means the older subsidy cliff is back in force.
For someone earning above roughly the mid-$60,000 as an individual, full-price marketplace coverage in your early 60s can run well over $1,000 a month before deductibles, before prescriptions.
Multiply that across a 2 to 3 year gap and you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars nobody budgeted, arriving in the exact years your portfolio can least afford to be drained.
Part 2, the Social Security clock. Claim before your full retirement age, 67 for most people watching this, and the reduction is permanent, not temporary.
Claim at 62 instead of waiting, and your monthly check locks in at roughly 70% of what waiting to 67 would have paid, and less than that compared to waiting all the way to 70.
Every year you delay past full retirement age, up to 70, adds a guaranteed 8% to your monthly benefit for life.
Nothing in the stock market offers you a legally guaranteed 8%. Social Security does, and almost nobody uses it.
Part 3, the compounding years you don't get back.
5 fewer years of contributions isn't just 5 years of missing deposits. It's 5 years of missing growth on top of everything you already had.
Run the numbers on a moderate saver, and the lost compounding alone can exceed a couple $100,000 in final portfolio value, which at a sustainable withdrawal rate translates into thousands of dollars less income every single year for the rest of retirement.
Added up, the coverage gap, the Social Security haircut, the lost compounding, and you get why over half of retirees say they were surprised by what retirement actually cost them.
None of that is a savings rate problem. It's a timeline problem. There's a second trap layered on top of all this, and it's the one nobody questions.
The 4% withdrawal rule.
It came from research in the 1990s testing 30-year retirements against nearly a century of market history, and it holds up reasonably well for a standard length retirement.
But if you retire early, your horizon isn't 30 years, it's 40 or more, and the rule's own research shows the safe number drifts down toward 3 to 3, and 0.5% for that length.
Of runway on a $600,000 portfolio, that gap between 4% and 3% is real money every year, compounding against you instead of for you. And the single biggest threat to any of this isn't a bad average return over 3 decades. It's a market downturn in your first 5 retirement years, while you're still withdrawing.
Sell into a drop early, and you can permanently cripple a portfolio that would otherwise have been fine.
Now, back to Renee. Same assumptions. $51,310,000, target $750,000 at 65.
Run her forward to an exit at 60 instead, forced by circumstance rather than choice, and her balance lands closer to $4,180,000, a shortfall of roughly $2,170,000 before she's withdrawn a single dollar.
Layer on 3 years of full-price marketplace premiums. Layer on an early Social Security claim locked in at a permanently reduced rate.
Apply a conservative withdrawal rate to the smaller number instead of the larger one, and the gap in annual income can run into the tens of thousands, which, stretched across a multi-decade.
Retirement becomes a 6-figure difference in total lifetime spending. Renee's math was never wrong.
The plan just never modeled the version of her life where she doesn't get to pick the date. The number on your spreadsheet is only as honest as the assumptions holding it up.
Why does this land hardest on people in their late 40s and 50s, specifically? Because of timing.
This generation is the first to rely almost entirely on 401k style accounts instead of pensions. Far fewer than their parents' generation have a traditional pension at all, and they've absorbed
The dot-com crash, the 2008 crisis, 2020, and the 2022 inflation spike along the way.
Multiple surveys show this cohort expects to retire with several $100,000, less than they themselves believe they'll actually need.
Here's the date to actually write down.
According to the Social Security Administration's own 2025 and 2026 trustees reports, the Retirement Trust Fund is projected to be depleted around 2032 to 2033.
Unless Congress acts before then, benefits would face an automatic cut of roughly 20 to 23%, not a rumor, not a worst case fringe scenario, the law's own default outcome if
nothing changes. Do the birthday math, and a huge slice of the people currently in their late 50s hit full retirement age in almost exactly that window.
Every time this comes up, someone says Congress always fixes it eventually. Maybe they've patched it before.
But Congress will probably act, is a hope, not a plan you can budget around, and hope has a bad track record as a financial strategy.
Okay, that's a lot of bad news back to back, so let's close the loop on Renee, because the ending here isn't doom.
A few months after running these numbers, Renee didn't rebuild her entire financial life. She did two things.
She bumped her contribution up just enough to capture her full employer match, which she'd been leaving on the table.
And she opened a separate account. She calls it her Gap Fund, feeding it $250 a month, specifically earmarked for a pre-Medicare healthcare bridge.
It won't cover the whole gap by itself, but it's the difference between hoping nothing happens and having already planned for the version of the future where something does.
Here's what I want you to actually do this week. 3 moves, not generic advice. 1. Stress test your plan against 62, not 67.
Pull your current balance and calculate your monthly income using a withdrawal rate closer to 5% instead of 4%, to account for a longer runway.
If you can't do that math in 10 minutes, that's this week's homework, not picking new funds, just running the actual number.
2. Build a real health care line item into your plan for the years before Medicare.
Budget conservatively for full-price marketplace premiums now that the enhanced subsidies have lapsed, and start a dedicated bridge account today, even if it's a small monthly amount.
3. Treat your Social Security claiming age as an investment decision with a guaranteed return, not a scheduling preference.
That 8% annual increase for delaying past full retirement age up to 70 is the closest thing to a risk. Free return left in the entire financial system.
Run the bridge strategy math before you assume you'll just claim early because you need the cash. You can't control your exit date.
You can control whether you're ready for it. If this reframed how you're thinking about your own timeline, hit like. It's the single biggest signal that tells this platform to put the video in front of someone else who needs to see it before.
It's too late for them too. And if you're new here, this is Winds of Thought. We do this every week.
Subscribe if you want the next one. What's your actual number if you had to retire 5 years earlier than planned?
Drop it in the comments. I read every one.